Chris here, and welcome to my channel. In today's 5 on Friday, I'm going to kick off my latest round of 5-star predictions. So this is a clip I'm filming for the second time. I have no idea what happened to the first time. So if you notice that the timing of the filming is a little off compared to clip 2, that's because I had filmed this, lost this clip somewhere in translation, and then filmed clip 2. So this is actually being filmed after clip 2, even though it was supposed to be filmed before, but I lost the clip I filmed before, so now I'm redoing it. Anyways, I have started this round of 5-star predictions, and I'm going to pretend from now on like I don't know what's coming for the rest of the books I need to read. So I'm only going to talk about the 2 books that I need to in this clip. So the first book I'm going to talk about is The Sun and the Star, and I did indeed give this 5 stars. This is a book from the Percy Jackson world. I don't know if it's like a new arc or if it's just like a one-shot. And there is really no way to talk about really anything involving this book without spoiling some aspects of various other books in the Percy Jackson world. So just keep that in mind. I'm going to try to do my best to keep it very, very minimal, but keep that in mind as you go into this. So this is a Nico D'Angelo adventure, and we follow Nico and Will Solis, who is one of Apollo's kids, and they end up having to go on a journey to the underworld as Nico's been getting these strange dreams, and they're basically a quest. They've been told they have to go on a quest to the underworld because there's somebody down there that they need to rescue. And unfortunately, it's not just any part of the underworld, it is specifically Tartarus, which is the most dangerous part of the underworld. So Nico and Will are in for one heck of an adventure, and I absolutely love this. I love basically everything Rick Riordan has written, so I'm not surprised that I ended up loving this as well. I really loved seeing the dynamic between Nico and Will. I love the adventure they went on and the stakes that it felt like were there. I loved some of the throwbacks to various other books in the series and characters we know, and just the inside references you get if you're really well versed in the series. And this was just everything I could have wanted, and I really do hope we see more in this verse from these characters, because I really thought the perspective of these characters was quite fun. So absolutely adored this. Was an easy 5 stars. Really, really not surprised given that most of Riordan's works have gotten 5 stars from me. And then the other book I read is One Star's Confession, and this also got 5 stars. So this is a standalone in the Warrior series, and it follows, well, One Star. And this was absolutely fascinating. So One Star is a character we meet in the first arc of 6. So he is one of the OGs, and it was really, really nice to be back with somebody from that time period, because we're so far into the future now in the arcs that it was really cool to get to see characters we haven't seen in a while and get to experience some events that we've read about from other characters' point of view, from One Star's point of view, which I, again, thought was absolutely fascinating. It's one of the things I love about the super editions is you get a different viewpoint a lot of times of events that are well known to you from the arcs, but are from, like I said, a different character's perspective, and it can kind of change the way you view that event going forward, because now you have kind of multiple perspectives, which is really cool. I found One Star's journey to be fascinating. I feel like I understand a lot of his motivations now, because he is a very complicated character and has a very interesting journey throughout the story. And it was just fascinating to really understand why he made the choices he made, because now we're in his head and we can hear his thought process and understand where he was coming from when he behaved in a way that was confusing to us from the point of view that we were in the main arc. So I just thought this was a brilliant idea for a story, and I thought it was a brilliant way to kind of give us that insight and those missing pieces that we didn't have. So I'm really glad that the Aarons chose to give us a book from One Star's point of view and kind of fill in some of those missing pieces. So those are the first 2 books I finished for this round of the 5-star predictions. 2 5 stars, so I'm off to a very good start. And I can't wait to see whether the other 3 books this round live up to the super high standards. So here is past me talking about 2 of the other books I have read for this vlog. So I'm back, as I have now finished 2 more of my 5-star predictions. I read both of these for the final book support group, so I thought I would give you an update. The first one I finished is Skander in the Phantom Rider. This is the second book in the Skander series, and I gave this 3.75 stars. I did not enjoy this as much as I enjoyed the first one. This follows Skander, who in the first book has always dreamed of being a unicorn rider, and on the day he is supposed to take his test, he's told he does not get to take it. But then at midnight, someone shows up and says, there's been a mistake, you get to go be a unicorn rider, and he ends up on the island and realizes that maybe that person wasn't exactly who they said they were, and he kind of finds himself in a bit of a sticky situation and has to navigate being on the island and learning how to be a unicorn rider while hiding a bunch of secrets and trying to get to the bottom of certain things that are going on. In this one, he is continuing his journey as a unicorn rider, and he ends up in another situation where there's a lot of stuff going down behind the scenes that he kind of has to deal with. There was some, how to put this, background stuff and a character whose POV we get, and in the first book we only get Skander's, so we get a different POV in this book, and I just did not enjoy that POV and how things played out with that particular character, which brought my enjoyment of the book overall down. I also wasn't into Skander and the decisions and choices he was making and the way he was behaving in this one, so that definitely brought my rating down as well. I'm still curious about the series, and there's still a lot I like about it, but I think I would go into the next book in the series with a little bit lower expectations, given that this one didn't even hit 4 stars. Then I read The Treehouse Library by Anna James, and I gave this book 4.25 stars, so not a 5-star. This is the 5th book in the Pages & Co. series, and this series is about Tilly, who in the first book finds out she's a book wanderer, and that means she can go into books and visit fictional worlds and fictional characters, and she can occasionally bring those characters out of books and interact with them in our world. In this one, we're getting a POV that is not Tilly, but is a character we have met in the series, and I enjoyed it. I still really like the whimsy of this series, and I like the way the world is crafted, and again, as somebody who loves to read, I would love to be able to check out some of my favorite book worlds and get to experience what that's like. The first one that literally comes to mind is the Phantom Tollbooth, because I remember being obsessed with that book when I was a middle grader and just thinking that it would be so cool to see that world. One of the things I will mention about that world is there is, for instance, a weatherman, but he's not the Weather weatherman. He's the Whether weatherman. So there's a lot of like puns in that novel, and it makes for a very interesting world. And I would just think it would be really cool to be able to visit and see what it's like to have that kind of a different kooky atmosphere. So I totally connect with that, and I did like getting to see that in this book. I think my problem is that they're up against this obstacle, and I'm trying to tell you about this without spoiling anything, obviously, but like the character we're following has something they need to do, something they need to accomplish to kind of move the plot along, and I thought it was just a little easier for them to accomplish than I would have liked. I wanted more. I wanted, I don't know, like more twists and turns, and it just seemed a little too simple for me. And I think that's what brought down the rating a bit, but I'm still very invested in this series, and it definitely ends in a spot where I need book 6, and I have no idea when I'm getting it. So, not a 5-star, but I did enjoy it. So, 4 books down, 1 to go, and when I read I Must Betray You, right? Let's see, it's right here. Yes. When I read I Must Betray You, I will check back in and wrap this vlog up by letting you know what I thought of this one. So, I am finally checking in. It's like February now, and I read this book back in the middle of January, but I am finally finally sitting down to film the end of this vlog. So I read I Must Betray You, and this was the last of my 5-star predictions, and this got 4.25. So not 5 stars, but I did enjoy it. This takes place in 1989 in Romania, and we're following Christian. He wants to be a writer, but of course, you know, it's Romania in 1989. You're not allowed to do that. Have dreams and hopes and do whatever you want. Romania at this time is under a cruel dictatorship, and Christian wants no part of that. Unfortunately, he gets blackmailed into helping the dictator and his people out, and he's not down with that, so he decides to be like a double agent where he's trying to give them enough information to make them believe he's on their side, while also trying to discover secrets that can help the resistance and feed them to the resistance. And we follow his journey as he tries to balance these two massive secrets he's carrying. One, that he's actually being blackmailed to be part of the dictatorship and the bad guy side. And two, that he is also trying to not be part of their side by lying to them and gaining their trust so that he can betray them for the greater good. And it was fascinating. It was really interesting learning about Romania at this time. I did not realize this was something that happened in Romania in my lifetime because, granted, I was like 2 years old, but still, that's in my lifetime. I sympathized with Christian, and I thought that Rudis Sepetys did a really good job of writing all of the complex emotions he was facing during this time period in his life, and the fear, because you never knew who you could trust. You never knew who might actually be working for the bad guys and lying to your face. And Christian learned this firsthand because there were people in his life who he had to lie to about the fact that he was being blackmailed into doing it, but still that he was doing it. And it was just so fascinating to watch the turmoil he was in, trying to balance this, but being all alone because he had nobody he could confide in about it because, well, being honest could mean death. So I thought this was a really good, I think it's labeled like a historical thriller. And I think that's a pretty good label. To me, I know the historical thing feels weird because I'm older than the events that are taking place. But I can understand why it's labeled with the historical because it's certainly not contemporary. So I really, really ended up enjoying this. It was just missing a couple of things that would have made it 5 stars. And I think the main thing was that it took me a second to get into. And if your book doesn't really suck me in from the beginning, you're probably not getting 5 stars from me. So like I said, I finally finished, and I know that you will have just watched this video, but I'm going to quickly bring you through what I read and what my ratings were again. So we have I Must Betray You, which was 4.25 stars. 1 Star's Confession, which was 5 stars. The Sun and the Star, which was 5 stars. The Treehouse Library, which was 4.25 stars. And then Skander and the Phantom Rider, which was 3.75. So 2 5 stars, 2 4.25 stars, and then a 3.75 star. So not a bad round, I would say. Anything above 4 is a book I loved, even if I didn't give it 5 stars. Like these, where are they? These two are definitely new favorites. But these two I really, really enjoyed. I don't know if I would reread this one, but I definitely can see myself rereading this and the rest of the series in the future. And then this one just had some elements that didn't quite work for me, but was still enjoyable, and I definitely am curious to see where book 3 goes, despite the fact that I didn't love and adore book 2. So, not a bad round. So there you have it. That was this round. Sorry, this is so incredibly overdue. I've had a lot of things thrown at me in the last, 6 weeks. If you don't know and you haven't watched some of my other videos, I read I Must Betray You in the middle of January. And in the middle of January, I also found out, and I think this was a few days after I finished that my grandmother had passed away. And so this became less important. I was trying to focus on keeping up with my vlogs, like my weekly vlogs, which were extremely hard to do, which if you've watched them, you know. I wanted to keep up on my TBRs because I really love playing my TBR game. I love participating in readathons, so I didn't want to kind of not do those. And so this vlog and talking about that last book kind of took a back seat because the thing that was disposable, the thing that was easiest to not film and give myself a break, were my 5 on Fridays, and this is a 5 on Friday clip. So it just was not a priority because when I felt like being on camera, I had other things that I prioritized. So I'm sorry that this is late. I hope you understand my reasoning and still have enjoyed this video if you've managed to watch it. But that's going to be all for this round. Hopefully the next round goes better and I film it in a more timely manner. All of my social media is linked in the description below if you'd like to come chat with me. If you've made it this far in the video, leave me star emojis, like this video, and subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye!